Atlanta, Georgia, homeless man killed during the tear down at a homeless encampment. Put up the picture full mass. One of the sad stories you will hear. According to The Guardian, city workers in Atlanta killed a man living in a tent while clearing a homeless encampment with construction equipment near Martin Luther King's famous Georgia church. The death of Cornelius Taylor on Thursday afternoon resulted from an effort to reduce the visibility of people without shelter near the city's historic Ebenezer Church as an accommodation for crowds expected in the area to celebrate King over the weekend. And on Monday, the federal holiday dedicated to the civil rights leaders' life and legacy. I'm going to give you the background, the irony included. Atlanta officials have not yet clarified how Mr. Taylor died. Witnesses told local media that bulldozers from Atlanta's Department of Public Works were removing tents from the open area across the street from the church and ran over a man inside a tent who had not left the encampment on Old Wheat Street. Taylor's death has infuriated homelessness advocates or unsheltered and prompted a round of soul searching among city leaders. Quote, the sweep, prior to which the city failed completely to check the tents, is a stopgap measure to try to project a false, sanitized vision of Atlanta, activists from the Housing Justice League said in a statement. Quote, Taylor and everyone else living on the streets deserve much more than to be bulldozed out of the way. For MLK weekend festivities, everyone deserves to live in dignity. Talk about being adverse to the sentiment of a human being. Talk about being adversarial to the legacy of Dr. King. Dr. King would have never sanctioned something like that. Never. So you have a human life. The only thing you have to do in order to make sure you don't kill someone is to do a proper check. We can argue about the policy. The policy itself is ridiculous to me. They should provide a solution rather than a bulldozer. But outside of that conversation is the decency of providing a systems check to make sure that life is preserved, to make sure that no one is in the encampment. Why? Because those are homes that you're tearing down. They may not look like yours. They may not have running water. They may not have a shower, a sink, a television, but that's their home. And you're bulldozing their homes. You don't have the decency to properly check to make sure that a human life will not be destroyed by this equipment. Historically, the city sends social workers and outreach teams to encampments over a period of months before issuing a final order to evacuate. Those teams work to place people in shelters and ultimately permanent housing. Witnesses told WXIA-TV that the incident involved a bulldozer from Atlanta's Department of Public Works. The department told WXIA-TV in a statement, quote, our department routinely clears encampments that pose health and public safety concerns, always following days of outreach to connect unsheltered individuals with housing and support services. DPW is fully cooperating with the Atlanta Police Department's ongoing investigation and will provide updates as more information becomes available. But somebody's dead. And if you conducted an outreach yesterday or the day before that happened, but you conducted nothing on the day of, you didn't check on the day of, there's a problem. We have a problem because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to bulldoze any area before knowing there's nobody there who will get killed. It doesn't matter if the individual is unsheltered. It's a human life. Put him up. Mayor Dickens, Mayor Andre Dickens. Most of the time I agree with Mayor Dickens and his policy. I endorse the brother. I've also had to be critical of him at times. Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens said in a statement, quote, "I am saddened by this terrible incident and extend my thoughts and prayers to the family of the deceased. I care deeply about each and every life in this city. We will review each of our processes and procedures and take every precaution to ensure this never happens again while we continue our important work to house our unsheltered population and bring our neighbors inside." Now, look at cause and effect. Look at cause and effect. Multiple administrations ago, okay, we saw as the city of Atlanta continued to grow, continued to industrialize, and continued to become the city that it is, it also displaced a lot of people. The more property value went up, the more mom and them property taxes went up without any type of reprieve. Why? Because the state of Georgia has a law that makes it illegal for a city or a county to do anything in that regard to protect their own citizens. So you had massive displacement. You also had this attractor come to the city of Atlanta. You'll have an opportunity. You can get a job, etc. There are men and women that we've come in contact with when we do our outreach. They're just one paycheck down, maybe. And because of that, if they were renting in a week-to-week or an efficiency hotel, they can't live in that location because of that 1 week check. Some people were actually trying to save money, but they were sleeping underneath a bypass. And then you have those who are in need of mental health help, not receiving it. Fast forward, Mayor Kasim Reed, City of Atlanta mayor. Many champion him as a great mayor. He closed down the shelter, provided no accommodation, no remedy. And we said to the brother this would happen. We said to him, don't do this without having a remedy for those you're going to displace. There was no remedy. And now here we are again. They deserve an answer. They deserve a solution. They deserve a remedy. They deserve to be treated like human beings. The city had been working with people at the encampment since April, had placed many of them into shelters, according to Catherine Vassell, that's the CEO of the city's homelessness organization, Partners for Home. Atlanta announced an investment of $60 million in new public funding, the largest amount in the city's history, to address homelessness last year. That investment comes as Atlanta wrestles with a 60% increase in unsheltered homelessness since the coronavirus pandemic, after previous years of declines. The problem has now compounded because you had no real stopgap previous. Now, I applaud Mayor Dickens because last year when he announced this, it was the first time a mayor in multiple years had actually announced a directive to address the homelessness or unsheltered dynamic in the city of Atlanta. I remember as a college professor, I would take my college class, my undergraduate class, to spend the night outside, one night out of the semester, in order to get that feeling, to understand it better. Because if you don't know what it's like to be homeless, it's the hardest job in the world. Get a job, what are they going to brush your teeth, comb their hair, take a shower, iron their shirt. You don't know that until you've had the experience. And so before I train a future CEO or direct anybody else, I want you to know that experience. And maybe you won't easily write them off. Dear brother, thoughts here?
Well, Dr. Richey, my thoughts are, we all need to know the name Cornelius Taylor, and you said that they need answers, they need solutions, they need remedies. We need answers, we need solutions,
right.
we need remedy, because the truth of the matter is I see a lot of people don't think they need to care about this issue, and yet most of us are one paycheck away from being this issue. Most of us are much, much closer to being Cornelius Taylor than we are to being Bill Gates or Steve Jobs.
That's right.
And more of this will happen, especially with this new administration. So we need to understand what happened in this case, how this happened, why that area wasn't cleared, and finally, why is Cornelius Taylor homeless in the first place? Why is this happening on such a grand scale in this nation in the first place? If this was happening anywhere else, there would be a state of emergency and the world would be collecting funds and collecting money and starting GoFundMe campaigns to pay for this and paying 25 cents a day. Let's look at it right here in our own country. This Cornelius Taylor is an analogy for America now.
Yeah, very well said. We'll stay on top of this, obviously, until a remedy or the final development comes.